group of former health secretaries say the future of the NHS looks bleak unless there's radical change. Stephen Dorrell, Alan Milburn and Lib Dem MP Norman Lamb are recommending a cross-party group be set up to review the NHS and social care. Former Conservative Health Secretary Stephen Dorrell, who is now chairman of the NHS Confederation, has come up with this idea and he's with us. Hi, Stephen.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
How do you solve a problem like the NHS then? We're getting older as a society, we're living longer and we're expecting the most up-to-date medical care free at the point of use as soon as possible.
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is to recognise that we can no longer think of the NHS divorced from the rest of the care system. When the social care system, people care of the elderly in residential care or home care services, when those don't work, it means that people are unnecessarily ill. It creates avoidable illness and avoidable extra work for the NHS. So what ministers have done, this is not controversial, this group of signatories of this supporters of this letter, of Norman Lamb's bill today, completely cross-party. But what's happened over a long period is that governments have talked about the need to look at the health and social care system, and indeed social housing in many cases as well, as a single system, and to make it more locally based. Now, once you start to think all that through, it creates a need, in our view, to rethink some of the structures that we've all grown up with for the NHS, but also for social care, for social housing, so that they work better together to provide a service for people who depend upon it, to allow them to enjoy the fact they live longer. You said one of the issues is that people live longer. It's absurd if that becomes a problem. It ought to be something that we celebrate and that we work to ensure that people enjoy that longer life.
Yeah, but integration is not necessarily a cure-all for health and care, is it? Look at Northern Ireland. They've been doing it for 45 years, and their integrations basically failed to address reliance on hospitals and institutional care. It's significantly greater than anywhere else in the UK.
No, you're absolutely right to say that just putting things together into the same organisation doesn't solve the problem. But what we do know is that different people from different organisations going round in a disjointed way, trying to offer care to people at home, enabling them to live at home, that doesn't work as well as it could. And those who argue for more joined-up care, of course it's true that it doesn't always work as well as it should. That shouldn't mean that we should just live with disjointed, dysfunctional services. We should set out to make them more effective, to deliver higher quality care, and to recognise also one of the other things that Norman Lamb's bill highlights is that as we get richer as a society, we always have since the Second World War, and we will, in my view, go on wanting to spend more money as we get richer, ensuring that these services develop and deliver higher quality care. So it's partly about funding, and it's also about reorganising the services so that they're better able to deliver the kind of care we want for ourselves and for our families.
Stephen, can I ask you, why do we need a commission such as the one that is being proposed when you only have to put into a search engine future of the NHS is PwC, there's a whole heap of different people, including, of course, NHS England itself, that are constantly looking at the future. There's the King's Fund. I don't need to tell you how many people are looking into this. Why this commission now?
Well, I think the answer is because we need to develop a cross-party. One of the things that Norman Lamb has emphasised is the importance of ensuring this is addressed on a cross-party basis.
Is not the Health Select Committee already on a cross-party basis?
Well, indeed, I chaired the Health Select Committee, as you know, for 4 years.
So,
and there are plenty of other organisations who could do this. I guess that the challenge that Norman and Alan and I are setting out is that we need to address this as a matter of urgency. None of the organisations you mention have, as a matter of fact, done it. And against that background, isn't it important to think about the future shape of these services? Particularly, it's partly, as we've talked about, the relationship between the NHS, between social care, social housing. It's also the relationship between national government, the responsibility of ministers, and the responsibility